Mr. Deputy Speaker, the actual flight paths of aircraft depend on prevailing wind conditions and directions. In the case of Seletar Airport, arriving and departing aircraft will sometimes fly over nearby residential estates because of the wind conditions around Seletar Airport. The Civil Aviation Authority of Singapore, CAAS, is mindful of the noise pollution caused by overflying aircraft and has several measures to reduce it. First, whenever wind conditions permit, CAAS proactively routes the aircraft away from the residential areas. Second, CAAS requires aircraft that overfly residential estates, such as those to the south and west of Seletar Airport, to operate at a height of at least 450 meters or 1,500 feet. CAAS has considered raising the height of such flight paths. However, this would compromise the safety of aircraft because aircraft will have to ascend, climb, or descend at steeper angles. Third, CAAS prohibits training and freighter flights between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. at Seletar Airport and allow only newer and quieter aircraft to operate within Singapore.
Engineer Dr. Lee.
Thank you, sir. I would like to let Minister know that Nee Soon South has been a very peaceful place where residents can have good night's sleep. Until recently, I received several feedback. Actually, it is not just sometimes, as Minister mentioned. Just to give you some example, on the 3rd January,
wait a while, Engineer Lee.
There were 3 flights coming in.
Engineer Dr. Lee, please ask the clarification.
Yeah, I would like to ask whether can limit the time further, because if you mention 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., it is not true. There are flights that come in at 3-something a.m., 4-something a.m., 5-something a.m., and it is continuously on the 3rd, on the 4th, on the 5th, on the 6th, on the 7th. And there are flights that come in after 10 p.m. So whether for those that is noisy, can they turn them away or not allowed to land at Seletar at all, and don't come near Nee Soon South because it wakes people up in the early morning. Thank you.
Minister for Transport,
Mr.
please make sure they don't come to Mountbatten either.
I thank the honourable member for raising it. The flights that are permitted at 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. are aircraft that are usually smaller and with newer engines. And this can include medical evacuation flights into Seletar Airport. So we limit this window to smaller, quieter aircraft, and the big aircraft with noisier engines are only limited to daytime. So the data that the member has provided is probably accurate. The bigger airplanes, noisy airplanes, are only limited mostly to the daytime and up to 10 o'clock at night. And post 10 p.m., sometimes it will be for medical evacuation and smaller aircraft. We take the point that aircraft do bring noise into not just Nee Soon South, but to other areas of Singapore because of the small landmass of Singapore. So CAAS will continue to adopt the best practices according to international standards to include the best practices in noise abatement measures.
Engineer Dr. Lee.
Thank you. I would like to ask Minister, what is how do you define small aircraft? If residents can be woken up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., I think the noise is not little. So I would seriously want to urge Minister and CAAS to look into this issue so that residents' sleep don't have to be disturbed so often. Thank you.
Yes, I thank the honourable member for the feedback. There are, in a small island state like Singapore, some of these inconveniences will definitely be reviewed consistently to make sure that we bring the least amenities to residents.
Mr. Dennis Tan.
Just a clarification for Minister. Just a clarification for the Minister. Does this flight plan also apply to other vicinities such as near Paya Lebar Air Base in Hougang and Aljunied?
It applies in different time zones to different military airports, whether it's Paya Lebar, Tengah. And these noise abatement measures, from my memory, do take into account school exams, for instance. There will be curtailing of flying. And for the military aircrafts, if my memory serves me right, they try to land by 10 p.m., unless for operational contingencies.